Hello, friends. I'm the Reverend Teri Peterson, minister of St. John's in Guruk. Today is Wednesday, the 28th of April. It's 5 o'clock, so it's time for a wee bit of wine and the word. Today I have a brand new pink Prosecco that just arrived that I'm testing out for summer in anticipation of maybe being able to have sort of garden gatherings because I think that would be nice for summer. So I'll let you know if it's nice, and if we're able to have gatherings in the garden in the summer, then maybe you'll get to find out for yourself as well. Today, the high point of my day is that my aunt sent me this t-shirt, which you can't see in the video, but it says, "I just want to pet cats and read books," and that's pretty accurate. And also it's very comfy, so I get to have on, of course I still need a fleece in the house right now, but so yeah, I got a little gift and that was great. The low point of my day today, I think, is just that I'm a wee bit tired and so not as productive as I would like to be today. But hopefully that will change as the day continues on into the evening. So whatever you are doing to mark a transition from one part of the day to the next, whether that is from an unproductive part of the day to a productive part, or from work to relaxing, or from different part of the house if you're still working from home, or just, marking a day that maybe has felt long and all the days begin to run together, or forget begin, all the days have been running together for some time, but it's nice to have a moment where we can say one part of the day is done and another part is beginning, and this is that moment. So start that off by sharing your own high and low points over the course of the day so far, whether you share them with me via a message or with another member of the church so that we can know each other better, or a neighbor or someone that you live with. All of that matters. This is what makes up our lives, and sharing our life together is what we do as a Christian community. So I hope you will share with someone and hear their life as well. Today we are going to continue our journey in the book of Acts. On Sunday we read about Philip and the Ethiopian eunuch from Acts chapter 8. And you may recall that Philip was sent to the desert road that leads toward Gaza. He had been in Samaria, and all of the Christ followers, the early church members who had been in Jerusalem, had sort of fled. There were the 12 remaining in Jerusalem, but the rest had gone away to other parts of the country because of the persecution that Saul, who's also called Paul, was doing. So when the Spirit told Philip to go down that road toward Gaza, he did, and he met the Ethiopian eunuch there. And then we're going to pick straight up in the next verse at the beginning of chapter 9. And I'm going to read the first part and then sort of summarize the next part because it's quite a long story. But you can find it anytime in Acts chapter 9, and I am reading from the New Revised Standard Version today. Meanwhile, while Philip was down on that road to Gaza, meanwhile Saul, still breathing threats and murder against the disciples of the Lord, went to the high priest and asked him for letters to the synagogues at Damascus, so that if he found any who belonged to the way, men or women, he might bring them bound to Jerusalem. Now as he was going along and approaching Damascus, suddenly a light from heaven flashed around him, and he fell to the ground and heard a voice saying to him, "Saul, Saul, why do you persecute me?" He asked, "Who are you, Lord?" The reply came, "I am Jesus, whom you are persecuting. But get up and enter the city, and you will be told what to do." The men who were traveling with him stood speechless, because they heard the voice but saw no one. Saul got up from the ground, and though his eyes were open, he could see nothing. So they led him by the hand and brought him into Damascus. For 3 days he was without sight and neither ate nor drank. Then a person called Ananias in Damascus, who is a Christ follower, has a vision telling him to go and look for Saul. And Ananias says, thanks, but no thanks, God, because he's persecuting people, and I know what's going to happen if I just go and appear before him. But the Lord said, go, because he is an instrument whom I have chosen to bring my name before Gentiles and kings and before the people of Israel. So Ananias went, and he laid hands on Saul, and his sight was restored, with like scales falling from his eyes. And he got up and was baptized, and he ate and drank. And then it says he was with the disciples in Damascus for several days and began to proclaim Jesus in the synagogue, saying, he's the Son of God. All who heard him were amazed and said, isn't this the one who made havoc in Jerusalem? Has he not come here for the purpose of bringing them before the chief priests? So people were afraid of him, but also amazed at his transformation, and he was preaching really powerfully. And then he was so ardent in his preaching of this new way that some of the Jews decided he had to be killed. So they plotted against him, but he escaped and went on to Jerusalem. And it says, when he had come to Jerusalem, he attempted to join the disciples, and they were all afraid of him, for they did not believe that he was a disciple. But Barnabas took him, brought him to the apostles, and described for them how on the road he had seen the Lord who had spoken to him, and how in Damascus he had spoken boldly in the name of Jesus. So he goes through Jerusalem also preaching and proclaiming, and then it says, finally, the church throughout Judea, Galilee, and Samaria had peace and was built up. So this is quite a story of Saul, who's also called Paul. His continued persecution, his violence, including not just the people in Jerusalem, but actually chasing them down to other parts of the province, going into Damascus, which is now in Syria, of course, and finally coming to this moment when he falls to the ground and hears this voice. And I think it's so interesting to notice that the men who were traveling with him also heard the voice, but they were not struck blind. So Paul wasn't traveling alone to Damascus. He had an entourage ready to help him break down doors and drag out Christ followers and bring them to Jerusalem so that they could stand trial in the Sanhedrin. And these people who were with him also heard this voice, but then we don't hear what happens to them. We don't know if they also come to believe and to follow Jesus themselves. We don't know. They just fall away from this story. But I would like to think that if they heard it, that their terror would soon turn also to amazement, just as Paul's had done. So interestingly, they still are calling Christ followers, followers of the way, people who belong to the way. And that tells us, of course, that this Christian life is not just about what we think, it's also about what we do, how we live. Following the way is not an intellectual exercise. It's a physical, embodied thing, that the way we live our lives is the way of Jesus. And Paul would be able to recognize people, not just because of what they said, but because of what they would do and how they would live. So he would find them within the synagogues, because that was still part of the deal, right? Christians were Jews for quite a long time. But their way of life would be different because they were following Jesus. And then he goes and he's without sight and neither ate nor drank for 3 days. So he fasted, and presumably he's fasting and praying during this time. And when he got up after Ananias laid hands on him, scales fell from his eyes, which is a phrase that we still use today, but a lot of people don't know the origin of that, right? We say, oh, the scales fell from my eyes. Well, this is the moment that that phrase began. When the scales fell from Paul's eyes, he could see the truth. Now remember, Jesus said, I am the way, the truth, and the life. So we've already had followers of the way, and now Paul sees the truth, and those things change the way we live. They bring us into life with Jesus. So that, of course, first for Paul means that everyone is afraid of him. Now later on, Paul will write, perfect love casts out fear. And I wonder if he had this experience in mind when he wrote those words, because in the beginning of his converted life, when he began to follow the way of Jesus because he had seen the truth, he inspired fear still in quite a number of people, and rightfully so, because of course they wouldn't know if he was truly a new follower of Jesus or if he was faking in order to worm his way into a community so that he could then bring them all to prison. And that's a legitimate fear. But when Paul later wrote, perfect love casts out fear, perhaps he was thinking of this time when he was able to demonstrate the love of God in ways that did remove people's fear of him. He was proclaiming the goodness of God in Christ, and that love was so evident both in his own ministry and in his words that it brought people along, it brought them around. And it took a little while, as it would, to gain their trust, but ultimately, love casts out fear. So I suspect that Paul was writing, drawing on those earliest days in his life. And then because Paul had now had this experience of Jesus, the church throughout Judea, Galilee, and Samaria had peace and was built up, and they increased in numbers. That's another thing that perfect love can do, right? It brings about peace and growth. When we follow the Jesus way, because we have recognized the Jesus truth, we get to live the Jesus life. That's my paraphrase of Eugene Peterson for today. So I'm just thinking about what that might have to do with us, and how easily Paul was going to recognize people who follow Jesus, and whether or not we live in the Jesus way in such a recognizable manner that people would know that we're Jesus followers just because of the way we live, and if maybe we are demonstrating the truth and life of Christ in our own lives. Or if maybe we're afraid. I don't know the answer to that. Everyone will have it for themselves, but I think it's something for us to think about, and whether we have allowed the perfect love of God to cast out fear so that we can live in the way. So that's my sort of rambling thought about Paul for today. It's quite an experience. I hope that each of us will have an experience of scales falling from our eyes, that we might see the truth of Christ more clearly today and every day. So let's take a moment to pray together, shall we? Let's pray. Gracious God, we give you thanks for this day that you have made. We give you thanks for this community that you have called together, and we especially give you thanks for revealing yourself to us, even in unexpected moments. We ask that you would clear our vision, that we may see your truth more fully, and that you would give us courage to live your way before the world. We ask this in the name of Jesus the Christ. Amen. All right, friends, I hope you have a great evening ahead. Despite the clouds, it will be lovely, I'm sure. So I will see you again either tomorrow or Friday for another adventure in Acts. Until then, cheers and peace be with you.